10th CBSE Biology, Chapter Reproduction. In this video, you will understand the significance of sexual reproduction. Reproduction. Reproduction is a biological process in which an organism gives birth to a new organism of the same kind. From our previous sessions, we understood that reproduction can be of two types: asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. These are the two types of reproduction that we come across in nature. Now, asexual reproduction is a reproduction which involves a single parent, whereas sexual reproduction involves two parents, a male and a female. In the sexual reproduction, we see that the male and the female organisms produce gametes, a male gamete and a female gamete respectively, and these gametes unite to form a zygote, and from the zygote develops a new organism. This is the sexual mode of reproduction. Whereas in asexual mode of reproduction, a single parent is involved and there are different methods of asexual reproduction. So here are the few methods. One is fission. Organism splits into two. It is called as binary fission. If it splits into more than two, it is called as multiple fission. So the second method of asexual reproduction is budding by the formation of vegetative buds. Third is fragmentation. The organism simply splits into two or fragments. So is the fragmentation method. We also saw that vegetative propagation is one of the asexual methods which we usually see in plants. So vegetative propagation. So the vegetative parts of the organism gives birth to a new organism. Spore formation is another important mode of asexual reproduction, and tissue culture as a new artificial method of propagation or reproduction. So these were the different asexual methods of reproduction. Now observe here, in all these cases there is only a single parent involved, whereas in sexual method there are two parents involved. This is the major difference between asexual and sexual reproduction, and also is the main advantage of asexual method. So when the organism is fully grown, it need not wait for its partner for reproduction. When the conditions are favorable and it has already matured so much so that it can reproduce, it will start reproducing by following one of these methods. Sexual method of reproduction involves two organisms, male and a female. They should produce gametes, and these gametes should unite to form a zygote, and the zygote will develop into a new organism. So these are the constraints, and it also involves the developmental period. So when there are so many constraints and restrictions in the sexual mode of reproduction, then the big question arises: why did nature choose to have the second mode of reproduction, that is the sexual mode of reproduction? What was the necessity of this mode of reproduction? So let us find out the answer for these questions. The significance of sexual reproduction lies in the fact that it favors variation faster than asexual reproduction. Even asexual reproduction favors variation, but at a slower rates when compared to that of the sexual method. Now, what is variation? Variations are the differences, are the changes which we observe among the different organisms or among the organisms of the same species, between the siblings and between these individuals of the same population. We also learned in our previous sessions that variation is the source of evolution. It is because of the variation that we see there are so many different organisms on Earth. How does this variation occur? What leads to variation? It is the errors in DNA replication. DNA replication is the act of copying DNA. Creation of any new organism involves two important processes: cell division, and the other one is growth, growth and differentiation. So the first step in reproduction is the cell division. Cell division has two parts. One is nuclear division and the other one cytoplasmic division. Both are very important. The nuclear division involves the DNA replication as the first step in it. So here lies the importance of DNA replication and variation. DNA replication. DNA replication is one of the wonderful mechanisms which we observe in cell. And also DNA replication is about 99.99% accurate. It means that there is less than 1% of errors during the copying. Now observe this, errors are the sources of variation and variation are the sources of evolution. If the errors are less than 1%, so with this less probabilities of errors, variations also become very rare. And because of this, evolution will be slowed down. In the asexual reproduction, it's only one organism involved and the resulting organisms are almost 99.99% genetically same as the parent individual, and you can see that the variation or the errors are less than 1%, and this less than 1% variation will be carried on to many generations and then leads to a organism with a new character. So you can see that this process is relatively slow in case of asexual reproduction, as the parent and the daughter cells or the offsprings are genetically same, almost same. Now let us understand the same process in sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, we know that there are two individuals involved, a male and a female. These individuals would also have accumulated the variations from their previous generations. This is one point to be noted. And the other important point to be noted here, if the variations are accumulated in these organisms and they are still living, it means that these variations are favorable. So they are favorable variations. When I tell the favorable variations, they are the variations which help the individual organisms to live well in the environment. So these variations are useful variations. So these are the two factors which we need to be considered. Now that male and the female have their own variations within their body, when they come together for mating and produce a new organism, the new organism will have the variations from two different individuals. This new organism in future will cross with another organism which would have got its variation from its parents, thereby producing a new organism with new set of variations. And all these variations are favorable and hence are passed from one generation to another generation. So you can see that the variations are accumulating faster than the asexual method of reproduction. Sexual method of reproduction fastens the rate of variation and in turn leads to evolution. This is one of the major reasons nature chose sexual method as one of the reproductive methods. In this video, you understood the significance of sexual reproduction.